I just saw squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president.
You guys want a civil war, and you called down the Thunderbolt. Guess what? You're gonna get it.
Charlie Kirk sucked. He was an awful, terrible human being. Did he get what he deserved? No, absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying.
It's not a secret. America is going through a lot right now. It's probably more than what I have ever witnessed in my entire life. We've been through a lot. Mass shootings, huge political changes in laws that have had the public turning up. We have had a recent surge in violence.
I don't know if that was shots or if that was fireworks.
No matter how you slice this pie, very recently it seems like every person living in the United States in some degree is on edge. But don't take it from me. Here's a really good example of what I'm talking about.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, but there are two reasons why I live abroad. Hi, my name's Mary and I'm an American mom who has lived in Thailand for the last 13 years. And I go back and forth about what's the right thing. I actually love America. I love American culture, lots of things about it. My family's here and I have really good relationships with my family. My children are getting older. I wish I could do it. But every time I really start to process how we're going to make that jump, there are two things that always come up, and right now, given the current climate, it seems relevant to talk about those things again. Number one, safety, okay? I honestly, when I'm here, okay, I live in Portland, my family's in Portland, Oregon, so that's where we come. There's a huge homelessness problem. There's a huge theft problem. Cars get broken into literally every single day. I've been verbally accosted by people in the park, in parking lots, with my children here in America. I don't really feel safe with them. When I'm in Thailand, that has literally never happened once, okay? I leave my car unlocked in the parking lot on accident many times. I've actually left car keys inside my car, parked many times. I have never had my car broken into. I've never had my house broken into. I've never had anything stolen from my house. I can go to a cafe and leave my computer and all my work stuff and my wallet with my purse while I go to the toilet. And yes, I know there's a risk involved anywhere, but never in 13 years, ever. I feel safe. I can go for walks at night in my neighborhood. I can go out with my girlfriends. I can get into a cab. I never have to worry about it. That's a real thing. Number two, and this is a big deal given the current climate of everything that's going on, but safety, there's no safety about it. We don't have in Thailand, there's no mass gun issue. It's not an issue. There's no mass shootings. It's not, occasionally, randomly, there will be an incident of violent behavior. Rarely in all the years. There has been one mass shooting at a mall and it was 6 years ago. In the entire time I've been in Thailand, one. Here, I honestly don't know how many there's been in this in 2025. I actually don't know. And children, I see stuff on TikTok all the time about moms packing bulletproof shields in their children's backpacks when they go to school. And I respect that because you have to think about the safety of your children.
That's absolutely insane, especially parents having to pack bulletproof shields in their kids' backpacks. Crazy. I wanted to talk about this because one of the main questions I have for my audience is, how does the world view America currently? I do know that as a child, the United States of America was one of those places where a lot of people wanted to travel. They wanted to do the Route 66 trip. They wanted to visit New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Colorado, Arizona, Florida, so many different places within the United States, because obviously there's a lot to do. There's a lot of cool, fun experiences to have. And one of the last things on people's minds was the safety aspect, because at the time it was generally far safer to travel to the United States than it is currently. And with the recent surge in violent activity in the United States, it makes me wonder how the rest of the world views the United States currently. So I had to do some more digging for myself to see how other people felt about what is currently transpiring in the United States. And then I came across a video that highlighted a very interesting question that I didn't even think to ask, which was, what was the exact turning point in which the United States' reputation started tanking?
What was the moment for you when you realized that the American reputation was not all it's cracked up to be? In one of my recent videos, I was talking about the moment when I, as an American, moved abroad and realized that the American reputation in the eyes of other nations had really deteriorated far more than I ever previously realized. For me, that moment came in 2018, but I now realize that it started way before that. And in that comment section, people were talking about the moment when they, as a non-American, realized that the American image was kind of a sham in some ways, or at least that it was really going downhill. People left several really good comments, but there's a wide variety of suggestions. Some people said the Iraq War, some people said 9/11. Some people say it started with certain political leaders like Reagan or George W. Bush, but to me, I really think elected political leaders tend to be more of a symptom than a root cause, because so often who we elect is a direct result of the political climate. This comment particularly resonated with me because they said it started with Columbine. For those who don't know, that was one of the first major events of gun violence within the US, and it was perpetrated in a high school by one of the high schoolers. Although many, many events have happened like that since, back then it was pretty unique and it really rattled a lot of people. But I'm really curious to know, what was the moment for you personally where you realized America was done?
If you were to ask that question right now, I'm sure a lot of people would say the recent change in administration in the United States. But if you were to ask people who have been observing the downfall of the United States for a long time, they would have a variety of answers. This comment actually was pretty interesting, as it says, when I realized everything in America, and I mean everything, is based on money at the expense of everything else. Even the issues now are somehow tied to a monetary dilemma. Not just with that, but also with the bickering between Americans themselves, not even politicians. There's so much fighting and dividedness between Americans in America that it seems like there's no common ground at all. I was reflecting on this as I looked at some old footage of myself traveling to a pretty interesting location in Germany / Netherlands / Belgium. It was a location where all three countries met in the middle. I believe it was called the Drie-Landenpunkt, or the three land point, where all three countries met in the middle. It was kind of like a mix of Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, and there was a tower in the area. There was a cool maze you can travel through, and they had this really awesome spot that sold Belgian fries. And I had a wonderful time, but I do remember being nervous visiting that place for the first time, right? Because I had never traveled in that particular area before, let alone of the Netherlands or Belgium in that setting. So I wasn't sure what type of vibe was going to be there. I wasn't sure what was going to happen when I got there, but I can promise you the one thing I wasn't concerned about was safety. I wasn't concerned about that at all. And I think now for anybody traveling to the United States, which I don't think there's very many people doing that unless they absolutely have to, that is a very real thing. It doesn't matter what class you are in. You could be upper class, lower class, middle class, and it doesn't matter your ethnicity. It doesn't even matter if you are American yourself. Traveling back to the United States, it is very hostile right now. And I wanted to get an idea what you guys thought of that. I did some more digging, and just out of curiosity, let me see what other people are feeling and thinking about this. And I decided to look at this Reddit thread that asked a similar question that I have been asking this entire video, which was, non-Americans of Reddit, how do you and your country view America? It was a recent question. It was asked within the last 6 months, so I'm assuming the viewpoints haven't really changed too much, but our first comment actually says, Icelander here, you think you're free and talk about freedom all the time, but you're not free. Your systems suck, like healthcare, workers' rights, human rights, education, etc. You think you're the envy of the world, but you're not anymore. Mostly we feel sorry for you because you're delusional. But yes, you are powerful and have a strong army, influential with your culture, and have done great things in the past. We appreciate what you did for us during World War II, and afterwards you helped us build our country. We had a good relationship, but with all that is happening now, your threats against our dear friends in Denmark and Greenland, trampling human rights, and basically everything Trump is doing, we are sad and disappointed. Some of us are scared you will target us as well. It's interesting, I guess, to watch the fall of an empire. And it's funny, I'm pretty sure I've said this in several videos before, but I remember when I was younger, my dad told me that America at some point might collapse if it was on the trajectory he saw it going. And he's like, he kind of compared it to like the Roman Empire, which, you know, it seemed at the time too big to fail. And then the Roman Empire wound up taking themselves out. And that seems like what's happening to the United States. The United States has historically been known for having its hand in many different pots and people's businesses all over the world and whatnot, and getting involved in as many conflicts as humanly possible to kind of help resolve a lot of the issues going on, right? We've tried to be a helping hand historically, but what that has indirectly done is gotten us into a lot of hot mess. And to see the battling within the United States being as vicious as it is currently, it puts a lot of people on edge, especially with the policies, the foreign policies that have been pushed to kind of push out allies. It is scary. It seems like the American peoples have maybe lost a little bit of confidence in the governing bodies, if you will. There has been a recent politicization of tragedies that have happened, but it's very apparent that some of those tragedies weigh more than others, and it shouldn't be like that. In fact, I think that's what's causing an even further division currently, and what's causing some people to feel hostile and feel the need to propagate even more violence and more hate. And it's very unfortunate. Like I said, the experience I had out in Europe was eye-opening and life-changing because it didn't matter what I was doing. I was able to innocently experience something new, something fresh, without worrying about my life being yoinked from my body every crack, crevice, and turn. I never thought that we would be at a point where allies across the world would be afraid to visit the United States. When I was a child, I remember at least a lot of what I saw in the media and whatnot, and a lot of what I heard from friends and family was that a lot of people desired to travel to the United States and experience the US. Unfortunately, now where we are very hostile and we're sending people back to their countries and stuff and detaining people for no reason and warring with our own people, it's put a muzzle on the idea of exploration and tourism to the United States. So literally, I mean, we've seen this earlier this year, a lot of countries have issued travel warnings to discourage people from traveling to the United States because it's hostile right now. It's unpredictable. I don't know what's going to happen next. We haven't even fully made it to the end of the year, and we've had a plethora of wild shit happen left, right, up, down, center, okay? And it's crazy to me. There's a lot that I've been seeing across the internet and whatnot, people having different takes and opinions on how they view the United States right now. And for me personally, I get a sense of anxiety thinking about it. I personally have not even lived in the United States for the last 3 years. I've been traveling. I am saddened by the view of my own country to the rest of the world. I particularly focus on the view that Europe has on America because I love traveling to and from Europe. But one very real fear that I have is traveling to Europe and Europe putting a restriction on Americans because of how wild America has been acting towards the entire world. It's crazy to me, man. It's crazy. It's like at one point we were working on building more cohesion between other countries and world leaders for a while, and at some point something changed where it's almost like we are speed running, torching our friendships and alliances as fast as humanly possible. In fact, I think it's not a crazy thing to say that a lot of fellow Americans feel the same way, where they're like, well, I don't know what's going to happen next. People are frustrated right now. We have a lot of things working against us. I mean, I've made several videos and you guys will already know the tropes that are in America currently, right? The lack of safety is one thing I keep harping on because it is becoming more and more diabolical by the day. People are losing jobs left and right for various reasons, but most recently because of the voicing of opinions that they have about certain recent tragedies that do not align with a demographic of people who have a different opinion of the same tragedies. Jobs are hard to find in general, so people are struggling financially, which is causing more anger, frustration, and outrage, which is also contributing to the propagation of more violence. It's a very odd time to exist within the United States, honestly. There are solutions, I do believe, to this. One thing I would say is for the people who have the privilege of traveling outside of the US, this would be the time to explore the world, see it for what it is, and bring back that open, otherworldly mindset to the United States and try to use that to help fix your home. Okay, because we're struggling right now. We are struggling right now, and it is scary and it's sad. Now, going back to the experience I had, I traveled with a very interesting group of people. We were from all different parts of the world. Actually, they were in Europe. They're most of them are from Europe, and I'm from the United States. So we kind of came together and decided to do this trip together and whatnot. And we had so much fun, so much fun. Climbing up that tower, like I was talking about, was very challenging. But like I mentioned, I bumped into so many people going up that tower that were from Europe that were super encouraging. They're like, don't stop, keep going. Getting to the top is worth it. You're going to have one of the best views ever. Very encouraging words, right? And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I wasn't expecting that. You know what I mean? I finally got to the top of the tower with my friends, and we ogled at the sheer beauty of nature. Just like the view we had was breathtaking. And I know you can get that view in other high points in different places, but the fact that I was able to climb to the top and get all that encouragement from different people I didn't even know, and then to see that view was incredible to me. I was up there taking it all in, and it was, again, one of the most innocent feelings I've ever felt in my entire life. Another experience that I think almost mirrored that was when I got to travel to the city, or it was a small town, the small town of Nordlingen, Germany, and I was able to walk all over the town, right? It's small. It's just a select few people that live there. And I got to try some of the food. I got to climb up the tower there.
You can feel the tower shaking, I'm not gonna lie. We are finally here in Nordlingen, bro. The top of the tower.
I walked around the perimeter of the town. It's one of the only towns in Germany, maybe even Europe, that has a fully fortified wall, you know, that's still intact to this day. I think it might be the only fully fortified wall that's still intact to this day. So it had like a very nice medieval look to it and whatnot. And I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. And I felt like I was in some old movie or something, you know what I mean? It felt awesome to be able to do that. And again, not one time did I feel unsafe or out of place or nervous or worried. And I think to myself, in today's day and age with what is happening right now, could people travel to the United States still and feel what I felt when I had those experiences in other countries that I had never been to before? Is that something that is possible right now? And again, going back to my original question, how does the world view the United States? And I always ask, because I am actively reading comments in the videos where I've asked this question, are there any viable solutions for us to recover from whatever is happening right now? Because I can promise you, the American people, we are like, hey, how can we fix our reputation worldwide? I know if like our governing bodies are doing something that's rubbing and rustling some feathers, what can we do to make it easier on the people on the outside so we can all come together behind the scenes and still enjoy each other without there being hostility? There is so much hostility within the United States right now that I'm not even sure if people are starting to bring that to other locations, you know what I mean? And I also am very aware that there are a variety of issues happening throughout Europe as well. I've been clocking that. Europe is going through some growing pains, more or less, as I've seen. And it just seems like the world needs to heal from what I've witnessed and what we've all witnessed, to be honest. And it's just a very interesting time. A lot of people are trying to hold true to their roots wherever they're from, right? They're like proud American, and for the Europeans, proud European. I just want to get it to a point where we're able to just enjoy other cultures and stuff again innocently and still be appreciative of where we're from too, you know? I don't want there to be all of this bad connotation to, you know, being an American, right? Like right now, it's like you say the word American and people are like, dang, we feel bad for y'all, man. We feel bad. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about later on, I have a video I'm working on currently, is the lack of vacation time we get in the United States. It's diabolical. We can't even marinate on what's happening. So many things are happening to us all at once right now that we can't help but have a visceral reaction to information we're getting exposed to on a daily. In the last 3 weeks, we've had multiple mass shootings. We've had a person that got assassinated. We've had 2 people who've gotten lynched. That's not including all of the day-to-day homicides and what have you that has been happening exclusively in the United States, okay? And then, of course, we've had people come up out the woodwork making threats to other groups of people and retaliatory things in response. It just does not feel like a good time right now. In fact, I know mentally when I do eventually visit the United States again, I have to operate entirely differently to be in a safe zone, right? To decrease the likelihood of my soul being snatched from my body, okay? I'm not talking about cops. I'm talking about daily interactions with anybody. It doesn't matter what race, creed, ethnicity, anything. Just to make sure that you don't stand out too much, just so you can just do your daily activities. It shouldn't be like that, right? It shouldn't, am I crazy? It shouldn't be like that. You should be able to go and walk around and have a dandy old time and not worry about anything happening to you. It's crazy to think right now that one of the normal things that parents pack in their children's backpacks in some places in America, they pack bulletproof padding inside their backpacks so that if something does happen in school, they can use their backpack as a viable shield. That's crazy to me. That's getting ready for war. Does that sound crazy? I don't know. To me, that sounds crazy. But anyways, I definitely had the time of my life. I'm planning on traveling back to Europe very soon, honestly, and I cannot wait to expand my knowledge of what I already know. The main places that I normally travel to, it's normally, Germany, normally Netherlands, and I mainly hover around Germany a lot. So if you guys have any places that you would love to see me travel to and explore more of, let me know in the comments and I'll definitely check that out. My life goal is to visit every single crack and crevice in Germany and know it like the back of my hand. I'm obsessed. I've loved that country and the culture and whatnot for so long, and I've been diving as deep as I possibly can. I've been learning how to speak and understand more and whatnot. The learning has been on and off, I'm not gonna lie, but it's just interesting to be able to be so immersed and, ingratiated in a culture and whatnot, and then turn around and realize that your own is being dragged for very valid reasons, and I'm like, oh, bro, good God, man. So again, let me know in the comments down below if there is any turning point that can change any of this and anything we can do to come back from the negative public outrage that is happening globally. Like, we've been making ourselves look real crazy recently, and I just do think that currently we are in a very volatile time. We are probably having one of the hardest times coming together as a people than we've ever had, at least in the last 20 years, for sure, easily. We are so divided, and I think that is exactly what particular entities want, to get away with particular things. And I think we know what those are. Like I said, I've never seen Americans ever be this anxious in my entire life. There's been plenty of things that have happened in the past, major catastrophic events, and I feel like currently this is the most anxious I've ever seen any American. Matter of fact, anybody that's American or not, when it comes to thinking about the connotation of the United States. Like, when you think of the idea of the United States currently, everybody anxious. Everybody's on edge currently, today. Also, it's very interesting because it feels like fellow Americans are suppressing other Americans' rights. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are preaching left, right, up, down, free speech, and then retaliating in the craziest ways when it comes to speaking freely. Now, obviously, the whole saying freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence, so I understand that, but the consequence should not be getting physical with anybody at all. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So we're in a very confusing time, and I think a lot of it has to do with a plethora of issues, the economy being horrible, the lack of very basic needs that we need currently. We need better healthcare, we need better education being stripped left and right from Americans right now, I ain't gonna lie to you, and the lack of perks in the workforce, the lack of jobs right now. The lack of jobs is crazy. I mean, people are scrambling to find anything to make a buck. So I think because of that, that has definitely had a direct correlation on the uptick in violent incidences and whatnot, unfortunately. So I do reflect on a lot of the experiences I've had traveling abroad, and I've noticed no matter where I've traveled, I've felt far safer. I've felt like myself. I've felt clarity I could not have in the United States because I did not have to worry about all of the limiters that were pretty much put on me in the States. Put on every American, honestly, in the States currently. We're just so used to the things that happen around us that, it just becomes normal. But then when we experience something that should be a basic human right in other countries, we're like, whoa, this is phenomenal. And I think that that's where I want America to get to. I want America to get to a point where we're able to be like, dang, look how far we've come. We were at a point of contention where we thought that it was about to be total anarchy. Everybody was about to be at each other's throats and an every man for his or herself situation. But here we are. are. I do think we can get there one day, but who knows? Do you think that other countries are going to start making it very hard and difficult for Americans to travel to other countries? Because in my head, I think the answer is yes, but I could also have it wrong. So let me know what you guys think of that. Wanted to have kind of a heart-to-heart talk with you guys about that. I do appreciate a ton of things about travel and the world and whatnot, but the way that I feel like America was once perceived is gone.